Hi, Katie Cats. Tabletop role-playing games like Dungeons and Dragons are exceptional tools for figuring out who you are. It is not all about swords or sorcery or nerds arguing about what a natural 20 should mean in this situation. No. With a tabletop role-playing game, you can bring those hidden parts of yourself into a world, even if it isn't exactly the real world for now. But as your character gains experience, you gain confidence expressing exactly who you are. And that gives you the ability to make it all real. So today, let's talk about tabletop role playing games. Why are they so good for exploring identity? What systems exist in case you hate, fantasy? And how can you, in particular, get started? Maybe even with some people that you're going to meet in the chat today. Because exploring who you are takes time and effort, but believe me, it does end up being all worth it. All right, let me see who I see already. I see, so Margie's here. Hello, Tina Purple Lover. Ooh, Forest Friend is here. Rudy Rodriguez. Oh yeah, this shirt. I'm gonna get to the shirt, but anyway, so here I am. Let me do my live stream opening things, my standard bits. I am Dr. Amethysta Herrick. I am both a scientist and a content creator. I discuss identity and gender using the lens of the scientific method. You can find out so much more about who I am and the work that I do at the website that you're going to see down below, purplepawclan.com. There's a page there you can find, it's just about me. You can find all the social media networks that I'm on. There's a page there for the blog. You can read the articles that I've written. There's a page for podcasts, so you can watch and listen to the podcasts that I record with very exceptionally interesting people. And believe me, oh, they're interesting. You can also go to a page where you can join the Discord server, be part of the solution by being part of the discussion. And finally, you can check out the hypnotherapy work that I do to help people work through some of these issues with identity and gender. Now, if you'd like to support my work, you can get a subscription on the website, purplepawclan.com, for as little as $5 a month. If all you did was follow me on social media and like and share what I do, that is beautiful support, and I thank you for it. Finally, you can also sign up for my free newsletter, which publishes about every 2 weeks. I published one earlier this week. And finally, I will also publish other people's work on the website. So if you'd like to contribute your original work on identity or gender, email me using that contact page, which once again, I'm trying to figure out how my fingers should go, is purplepawclan.com. All right, I got a few other people who showed up. Let me see. So I see my wife is here. Hello, my wife. Aaron, Ricky Spanish. Hello, Charlotte. And Anita is here as well. All right, let me I want to start off by just talking about why am I doing this particular podcast? Live stream. Why am I doing this topic? Now, I did a podcast with somebody named Liliana Kendra Young, and maybe you saw that. It came out not this past Friday, but the Friday before. She spoke about, ultimately, Liliana was talking about playing Dungeons and Dragons pre-transition. And part of how she figured out, who she might be was because she had friends who said, gosh, why are you so good at playing girl characters? It makes a certain amount of sense. So if you fast forward many years, of course, Liliana transitioned gender. That was part of the reason why we did the podcast. But I had a few other conversations recently about fear in social environments. We always want to be who we are, but we aren't always sure if we're going to like it, right? Expressing who you are, you go, I don't know. And we're never sure if everybody else in the rest of the world is going to accept it. So I have talked about tabletop role-playing games in a podcast before, literally back in 2023. It was with a friend of mine named Bill, and we just talked about, how fun tabletop role-playing games are. But I've never put together like my complete thoughts on the matter in one place. I'm also now part of a nonprofit board, like the board of a nonprofit. And I think I mentioned this to you. They're called the Alliance for Gender Diversity. It took me a second to get that out. We are actually planning to do some actual play streaming. So like we were going to play a role-playing game so that people could kind of watch us. So it makes sense to discuss TTRPGs at this point. And it turns out, look at this. Charlotte says she was just discussing this too. So pretty, excuse me, pretty crazy. My take on, so I'm going to right at the beginning, my take on tabletop role-playing games, TTRPGs, they are a phenomenal tool for self-discovery. There is so much that we can learn about ourselves by trying to act differently than we currently do. That doesn't necessarily mean different than we are, but different than we feel safe expressing in our current social environment. We can get some feedback on the pain or the joy, on how we act, and that gives excellent data on what we like, things that we actually like. So we can use this in our ongoing study of our own identity, which is what I'm all about, right? So and using that, of course, with that feedback, we can actually make who we are completely true in the real world. We gain the confidence to express that, and then you go, you know what, maybe I'll do this with my mom or with somebody else. Now, to be clear, I also kind of wanted a shorter and lighter topic today. I know it's been kind of dour around here recently, and I would also like to get into some gaming because we haven't done that for a long time. So I'm shooting for a slightly shorter discussion and then some fun a little bit later on. So today, what we're going to talk about is why TTRPGs in particular are the perfect tool to do your own self-discovery. Why the tabletop in particular is more powerful than a video game. We'll talk a little bit about the different systems that are out there for your own self-discovery, because it isn't just Dungeons and Dragons. It's not. And then finally, I can talk a little bit about joining our community and seeing if you can get into a game. So I wanted to start. Wow, I should really just cough. One sec. Okay. Hopefully that muted. I was watching things go. Maybe it muted, maybe it didn't. So today what we're going to talk about is why, sorry, I already did that. We want to start off with what's a tabletop role-playing game and why does it work as well as it does for self-discovery. So let me actually grab a few comments here. Let me see. So Margie says valid. The first time I ever had TTs was in a TTRPG. I'm going to tell you, I'm not sure what TTs are. Did I just like out myself as somebody who doesn't know something? I don't know. Minnie is here. Hello, Minnie. Oh, that cough was still there. Oh, it's a bummer. All right. Well, I have to fix that. Anyway, oh, here we go. Forrest says right here. They're looking to join a D&D campaign. Wowzers. Oh, the mute worked. Oh, sorry. And yeah, this audio had better be good. I'm actually, just so you know, I started using OBS. I was using a different tool, and OBS is kind of like the Swiss Army knife of broadcasting software. So I was like, I don't want to have to learn how to use it. Oh, say TT, I got it. So I didn't want to have to learn how to use it, but it turns out it was actually really easy. And it was especially easy after I had troubleshot this one other tool, looking at, so many deep level things and like the kind of deep level on how a real-time messaging protocol works. So anyway, I'm moving on here. So tabletop role-playing. Oh, look at this. Minnie and Matt just got back from a hike. Hello, Kenny. Kenny just joined. Hi, Kenny. Okay, let me start off. I'm going to go, just base level. What is a tabletop role-playing game? Now, maybe you've seen a show like Stranger Things, right? Stranger Things they play Dungeons and Dragons in that. And Dungeons and Dragons, it's supposed to be set in the 1970s. Dungeons and Dragons was one of the very first, if not the first, like formal tabletop role-playing game that was ever released. Now, maybe you're going to ask, what distinguishes a TTRPG? Typically, you don't have playing pieces, or if you do, there aren't that many. You might have a few, like maybe figures to go, oh, this is my character. And that's interesting because TTRPGs, Gary Gygax in particular, was coming from the wargaming hobby. Oh, I should mention, Gary Gygax was the guy who developed the first version of Dungeons and Dragons. So he came out of the wargaming hobby. Wargaming is like Warhammer, where you have like these $1 billion, these armies that you put together on a tabletop. And I'm not making fun of this. My son plays it, but I've looked at that and just gone, oh my gosh, it's so complicated. It's really complicated. So TTRPGs grew out of the wargaming hobby, but instead of two armies with a whole bunch of pieces clashing on a battlefield, the focus is on playing just a single character. And that's one of the big distinctions. Every player brings a character. So you have a specific character that you're going to play. You don't always have playing pieces like in chess. Instead, you have things like paper and pencils and dice. And it's kind of a crazy thing. There with the other players in the game, because usually you have like maybe 4 people, maybe 5 people. With those other people, you're trying to tell a story. And that is really what distinguishes a TTRPG from other games. The point isn't necessarily to win, because like win has kind of a strange connotation in a role-playing game. The point is really to tell a good story. Now, what makes a story good? Part of the things is that you don't control all of the story, right? You have other people in there. You have friends who have characters. Those characters have their own agendas. It's crazy. You have to work with other people. You also have a person who runs the overall story and acts as sort of an adjudicator. This person's called a game master. And then you have randomness thrown in. Remember I said there were dice. Those are used when you want to tell a part of the story that might fail. You're going to roll a die to find out what happens. You don't just tell the story and you go, oh, my character jumps across, 100-meter, whatever, deep thing. You roll a die and you go, oops, my character didn't. And that's part of the fun. That is really what ends up making the fun of a TTRPG, is that you really don't know what's going to happen. But you do know that there are a bunch of people working together to tell their story as part of a greater story. Now let me check on a few things here. Oh, Kenny, thank you for sending me a couple of gifts. Oh, thank you. Hi, Genevieve. She is here, but look, she's on data. Yikes. So yeah, Margie says D&D was the first mainstream RPG. I'm trying to remember when that came out. I want to say 1976. That was the first one that I played, for sure. Oh, by the way, here's the thing. Genevieve got a new truck. She sent some pictures. It's very beautiful. So congrats to Genevieve on that. See, so here we go. So Matt's saying he wonders what it says about him that he plays a human barbarian with an intelligence of 6. Right? You don't have to play who you are. Because I know, Matt, you are not, first of all, a barbarian, nor do you have an intelligence of 6. But so I'll pop this up because Matt says, oh, it's me being true to my dim-witted and hot-tempered self. Please. All right, here we go. And I agree with Forrest here. So the real treasures are the friends you meet along the way. Yeah, see, I mean, I think that's a huge part of like a good role-playing experience. You may meet some people, first of all. You may meet people you've never seen before. And you end up having to work together. There's a ton of stuff. We're gonna get into it, but I'm gonna, that is a great point. The friends that you get because you have to express yourself. It's pretty cool. So, oh, here we go. So Charlotte says she's played D&D. Oh, GURPS. I remember that one. I can't remember what that was. General Use Role-Playing System, I think was what GURPS was, something like that. RuneQuest, yeah, Star Frontiers, and Shadowrun. Oh, Shadowrun, cyberpunk setting. I forgot about that. All right, let me talk a little bit here. There was a oh, here we go. Look. So this is good. So Matt's got a beautiful history lesson. It says D&D was the first true RPG. It was a take on war games that lowered the scale down to individuals instead of armies. Okay. So it was originally designed to work with small unit fantasy themed war game. Oh gosh, called Chainmail. Well, I will tell you, I didn't know that. Who knew? I appreciate this. Anita says she has an intelligence of 6 of you. Sorry about that. I always do that. Okay, so now we can talk about the character, because I said that everybody brings a character, right? Part of what you do in a tabletop role-playing game, in a role-playing game in general, is generate like an actual, like, I don't want to say person necessarily, but a living being. And this living being, I mean, it's a character like in a book. They might have a backstory. They might have a family and they like them or don't. They might have a place of origin. You might have, there might be great bits about what they can do, the abilities that they have. There might be sometimes not so great bits, the flaws that they might have. With this character, your imagination can just go wild. And that's where the fun comes in. Because if you've ever sat down and gone, you know what? I really want to play a jerky guy. Like, I'm this sort of mild mannered person. I'd really like to play them. A mild mannered woman. I'd like to play a really jerky guy. You can do that. If you've ever wanted to play, if you go, I'm a really jerky guy. I wish I could play a really nice and nurturing woman. You can do that. If you ever wanted to explore gender more deeply, sexuality more deeply, morality, that's a big one. This is where you can do that. You make a character and you tell the story with that character with all the aspects that you want to throw into the person. As you uh, as you tell this story with the other people, assuming you're doing this well, because some people are like, you know what, the story's about me. I mean, I'm glad that you came along for the ride, but the story's about me. Presumably, as you're telling this story with your friends, you get to be this character. And you can make that as complicated or as simple as you choose. Um, there are people I know, or people I've seen anyway, who like to use costumes. They come to the table and they're like, here I am wearing my whatever costume. It has like horns and things like that. Maybe they do voices, right? They come to the table and they go, well, I am a very eloquent, very elegant and eloquent person. They do voices. Maybe it could be the way you sit, your body language. The emotions that you portray. You can portray literally any part of the human experience. Maybe I shouldn't. I mean, and you can push that human experience as far as you want as well. And maybe I shouldn't actually just say human, because maybe you're going to play another species. Maybe you're going to be an elf or a gnome or a goblin or something. So a tabletop role-playing game gives you the ability to be another person, literally to be another person. And that level of freedom can feel amazing. But more than that, you can try on anything you want to try on. Anything, any aspect of yourself, you can try it on. A character is like a painting that you make. It's partly you, but it doesn't have to be the you that is in the room right there, right then. And that's the value of TTRPGs. They act as an exceptional way to discover who you are. There are no real boundaries, no real virtues, no real vices. There are no limits to the person you can play in a game. There may be some of you go out there going, not quite true. No, it is mostly true, but boundaries are the next point to make. Why am I going on about TTRPGs in particular? Because there are computer games out there as well. And they do the same thing, right? More or less. Especially if you look at a massively, what is that? How does that go? Massively multiplayer online role-playing game. Whew. Like Final Fantasy 14, which is what I play. An MMORPG. There are ways that you can play with other people. So we're going to get there in a second. Let me check the comments. Yeah, you know what? I can see, Matt, I can completely see you like in Shadowrun. Here we go. That was a great history lesson. So D&D began as a supplement to a different game by the same authors. That's crazy. Yes. So Tina Purple Lover says that her adult child does this in role playing on Discord. We're going to get a little bit into that, how you can get into a game. That's a little later on that I'll talk about it. But yeah, there are so many ways to do it. So, Margie asks, has she talked to me about the book Dream Machine's Computer Lib by Nelson? I don't think so. I'm not really sure. Here's a great point too. So Matt says he always plays chaotic good or chaotic neutral. So chaotic people, oh, well, here we go. Because they are very much polar opposites, except for both having some deep-seated morality. Yeah, so I'm not actually going to explain it. Never mind. Major mumbling, yeah. So here we go. this is the let's talk about why I think the TTRPGs are better for discovery. I had mentioned before there are no boundaries, no stigmas, no limits, no taboos, and that's not entirely true because in a tabletop role playing game, you do have other people around you. Self discovery means exploring yourself, and there are definitely games out there that let you be a horrible character. Almost said person. Definitely games out there. And if you look actually at computer games, like there are a lot of those as well. There was one game, wish I could remember what it was. Overlord, I think it was called. You were literally like a demon and you sent out hordes to like tear down houses and stuff. It was actually really funny. More recently, there was a like a wargaming type thing, sort of a StarCraft kind of thing called Soul Infernium, I believe. You are trying to take over hell. Seriously. So you can definitely explore themes and actions that you would not, actions you might not take in real life. Hopefully, you're not going to end up as a demon trying to take over hell. I mean, you do you, I suppose, but you never know. But I will tell you, there is far greater value in sitting around a tabletop than in playing a video game. And there are some amazing video games out there. Okay, Skyrim, phenomenal RPG. The Witcher, really, really good RPG. But neither game, and here's where I'm coming down to it, neither game really has any consequences. I mean, you might go, oh, yeah, but I didn't win the game. But really, what you're doing is harming bits and electrons. If you're a wanker, and maybe you feel a little bit bad. But wait, maybe you say, what about MMOs? Right, it's true in these games, you can interact with some other people, and there is tremendous value in that particular interaction. When I was in grad school, which was, 30 years ago, so it's not like, we had anything amazing at the time. I used to play in MUDs. Somebody's going to have to remind me what this is. Uh, Multi-user dungeons. Oh my gosh, look, here's my friend. Here's my friend. She just said, hi, I just saw you doing this. She doesn't do TTRPGs, but she's going to be on until 4:30. Thank you. Hi. I wasn't going to say, I almost said your name, but I didn't. So in an MMO, so I played MUDs, and MUDs, like Liliana, people were kind of wondering, other people that I knew were like, wow, how do you play a girl so well? And ironically, an interesting thing that actually came more from a typing class, like a typing class that I took in high school, than probably my gender expression. Because apparently men are horrible typists. Like I used punctuation, and people were like, "Oh my god, it must be a woman," and I was like, "Dang, really?" Because I used punctuation. I just took a typing class. That's all. I used a Selectric 2, IBM Selectric 2. Anyway, moving on. I highly, highly recommend if you're going to do this, you need to play an actual TTRPG. You don't have to sit around a table. Interestingly enough, you can play on Discord. Tina Purple Lover mentioned you can play through Discord. There is software where you can put in like maps and other icons and stuff. These are called virtual tabletops. We'll talk about that in another section. But the interaction doesn't have to be in the same room, but the interaction is important. Because if you do something jerky in a computer game, nobody cares. There's no real consequence. If you do something jerky in a tabletop game, you might have people who get pretty pissed off about that. When there are many people who have many different agendas, when you have to cooperate with people to tell a good story, this is how you find out like how your character, how the way that you would play that out, how it would happen in real life. At the very least, as real as something like D&D can get. And if you are really, really trying to figure out something like gender or sexuality, if you're trying to figure out ways that you hope you can turn into daily expression and not just gameplay, this is where actually playing the character becomes important. If you can't really play as the character, and this is how I think computer games, or video games, let me say video games work, you don't really understand what it feels like. You will get much less of the benefit that you would if you played a tabletop game. You won't feel the joy or the apathy from being who you are trying out. So let's say now you are totally sold on the idea of playing a character. So I'm going to go and do it. But wow, the whole idea of talking like a D&D character sucks. Right? If you ever been to some of you must have gone to like a Ren fair or something, right? You know, nobody likes there's some juggler who comes along, right? And he pretends to miss or something. Woman picks up the ball from him and he has to do something like, "Prithee, fair maiden, I beseech thee to unhand my balls." And you're like, really? Go away. Here's your stupid, go juggle with somebody else. Anyway, nobody likes those guys. If you're one of those guys, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to offend you. I'm just going to say, if you throw the ball near me, I won't even pick it up. In fact, I'll probably do something. I'll be like, "Oh, looks like you lost your balls." Did that happen before or after you came to the Ren Fair? Anyway, moving on. Sorry. Other than that, maybe you don't like talking like a D&D character, but other than that, there are some TTRPG systems that are better than others. Better for what? Is what you're asking. Well, that's the next topic. What if you don't care about, like, fighting goblins, fair maidens unhanding your balls? What if you want to explore other parts of yourself? And I will tell you, there's definitely a system out there for you. Let me go through some of these things. I'm looking at comments, sorry. What do we got? So here we go. Yeah, so Matt says TTRPGs have so much more freedom. A computer game, that's, somebody's given you a story. You don't tell that story specifically. So that is something that, that I believe is important because you can put yourself into situations where you have to use the characteristic you want to use. Because if you get into an MMO, and don't misunderstand me, I've played MMOs for 20 some odd years. And in one of them in both of them, really in all of them, typically, I end up with what my wife has called puppies. Like, I never even dress a character all sexy. I dress a character just like, here's kind of cute. This is what I think are cute clothes. And they're always girls. But I'll get like somebody who follows behind me. Oh my gosh, oh, I love you so much. Oh my gosh. Anyway, there's much more freedom in a TTRPG, even though you have this interaction in MMOs. So, what do we got? Okay, so Kaya Cutie mentions VR chat. Yeah, see, so there are places where you can just kind of talk to each other. I see that as kind of like a Discord a little bit. I mean, less so because, you can actually have avatars and stuff. But again, I think there's something particular about sitting around a table and trying to tell a story, getting into situations where you have to figure out how you would react to something in the context of this character. So Forrest ends up saying nothing beats collaborative storytelling. Oh, thank you, multi-user dungeon. I had totally forgot. Yeah. I mean, this was 94, 95. This is what we had. So, Conway says, "Accept Almighty Lord Garderon, Overseer of the Universe, into your life." I think I did. She's doing really well too. So Lady Garderon, but thank you for that. I appreciate that. Oh my goodness. I didn't realize this went on without me. Here's a point too. See, like in a computer game, sometimes you can use cheat software, and that's kind of crap. So, look at, here we go. Matt says, on behalf of anyone who's ever said it's prithee fair maiden. It's always fair maiden. I'm like, dude, I'm in my 50s. Like, just So Anita has a great point, and I'm going to address this. Anita says she only tried a TTRPG once, and they felt too awkward, put on the spot. Hold on that, will you? Hold on that, I swear. Let me jump to... oh my goodness. I am... oh, my friend here. I need to be a comic actor. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate you. You're such a good... oh, you got to go. Oh, you're gone. Okay, bye. Um, all right, here we go. Let me see. Uh, let's talk about systems, just systems to a certain extent. We talked about Dungeons and Dragons, and it's like 50 years old. Nobody seemed to know the exact year. 76, maybe? I know Wizards of the Coast was like, hey, we're having a big celebration. And then I don't remember hearing too much more about it. But anyway, it's 50 years old. So that was a system I started on. And I mean, I think I got it in 1981. It doesn't make a difference, but I had the red box, like the original red box. So that's Dungeons and Dragons. And that was about all I had growing up. But it doesn't have to be the system that you in particular play. Here's one of the things. Oh, bye, Genevieve. D&D is a fantasy role-playing setting, right? You got dungeons, you got dragons. I mean, maybe there are dungeons in real life here. They mean them in a slightly different way. Anyway, it's a fantasy role-playing setting, but I'm giving you a new word. Setting. A setting is like a type of world. What's in this world? Is there magic? Are there computers? Is it technology? What kind of living beings are out there? Is it like mostly happy or is it full of conflict? And just as there are many more settings in movies and books that you look at, there is so much more than just D&D out there. But aside from setting, which is important, right? You don't want to end up going into a group where everybody's saying "Prithee, fair maiden," right? Aside from setting, D&D also relies a lot on combat. As it's gone through editions, that's changed a little bit, but as we saw, Matt said that it was originally designed to be just a small scale war game. It was designed to be like combat. It came from wargaming, and the original rules were intended to allow players to play just one figure in a wargame and have other people, play. I'm simplifying a lot. The idea was to be able to put those figures on a table to fight a battle. Now, there is nothing wrong with combat. Sometimes it's where the cooperation actually really has to come together as a group. And sometimes that is a ton of fun. Don't misunderstand me. I was running this one group where we had this big, huge battle with like different levels, and that was a lot of fun. However, it doesn't always give you the opportunity to try out emotions, different ways of speaking, deeper human expression, if that's what you want. And I'm telling you, for self-discovery, it's probably what you want. And if that's where you're going, there are lots of other game systems out there. So here are a smattering. This is by no means exhaustive. I'm just throwing out the ones that I know off the top of my head. So here are some things, the ones that I know well enough to discuss. Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition. There is a license where it doesn't have to be in D&D, so it can be adapted to other settings. If you like the rules, if you like the crunch, do it. Crunch is where you're rolling a lot of dice. So if you like that, go do it. Maybe you don't want to have to play emotional stuff all the time. If you do, there's another system that I do like called Fate, the Fate system. Evil Hat Productions is what puts that out now. I think that was written originally by somebody else. There is actually very little crunch in this game. In fact, that was the point. They figured that there were players who they don't want to roll dice as much as they just want to tell a story. What's cool about Fate is that there is no setting. Like, you can use any setting, any kind of world. And that's pretty darn good for things like self-discovery, because you can go, well, let's play a Fate game in, the office. How do I, go into the copy room? Do they still have copiers in offices? I haven't been in an office in a long time. How do I go into the copy room and not still be able to make my copies and stuff? I don't know. That's called the Fate system. Again, Evil Hat Productions. Another really good one is called Gumshoe. That is made by Pelgrane Press. So it's Pelgrane. This was initially for detective type games. Oh, hang on. Here's something I want to. So Matt says the Fate's a really cool system. He only played it once, but it is good. You have so many fewer dice. I mean, you usually have what, 5 or 6 dice? I think it's 6. It is very smooth. Typically, you don't end up with a whole lot of like rules adjudication, which can be fun, but not always. So moving on to Gumshoe, this was originally, like I said, by Pelgrane for detective type systems. Because like, here's an interesting question: if you're like a detective or playing a role playing game, I'm a detective. If you miss like a dice roll, like what are you gonna do? Can you still solve the crime, or do you just go, well, I guess the murderer goes free? What a shame. So what Gumshoe does, it actually it focuses on interpreting clues. That's the point. But these clues can be literally about anything. Those clues could be about sexuality or gender. Um, this is another one where you can play your reactions, where you're really reacting to the world as opposed to trying to like fix a really big huge story. Um, There's also a system called Forged in the Dark. This will be the last one that I'm going to talk about. Forged in the Dark is also by Evil Hat Productions. And this one, they call it heists, but heists can be pretty vague as well. It was originally, let's go steal a thing. Let's go steal the, what's the word we use for that? MacGuffin? Let's go steal the MacGuffin. So that can be very vague. Ultimately, what it means is you have a goal that needs to be accomplished by a group. You don't have to be thieves at all. I have a book here. I actually backed this on Kickstarter, like you do, called Girl by Moonlight. I'm going to hold it up. So, there we go. So, Girl by Moonlight is a forged in the dark type of game. This is a very anime, it can be dark anime, but it can be very like magical girl stuff. So, it doesn't have to be crazy. It doesn't have to be like you're going to go and steal something. There are completely off the wall games, like way completely off the wall games. I'm going to get to your comments in a second, Margie. I swear. One of them is this one, Thirsty Sword Lesbians, also by Evil Hat Productions. I will tell you, you may look at this and go, "Oh God," which I did, but then I read it. It turns out April Kitt Walsh, the author here, the designer, is a transgender woman, and it is actually an exceptionally uh accepting, inclusive. It's actually not bad. This is all about exploring sexuality and gender, oftentimes through intimacy. So that's something too. I have this one too. I backed this one on something. This is one huge book. This is a whole lot of stuff, but it's really good. This is called Break RPG with apparently 2 exclamation points. This is about anime play style. So anything that you may have seen in like some anime stuff, you can throw into this. And the list goes on and on. Let me actually pop up a few. Margie mentions cheap ass games. Yes, I have the original version of Kill Dr. Lucky from Cheap Ass. They spiffed it all up, and I'm like, wait, it used to be like some crappy little things in an envelope, but so, and okay, Margie also says, I'm going to get to your stuff, Matt, in a sec. So, cheap ass titles include Devil Bunny Needs a Ham, like you do, Enemy Chocolatier, and Give Me the Brain. So those are things. The list goes on and on. Typically, there's also a humble bundle that comes up every Pride Month. So probably in the next 2 weeks, we're going to see it yet again. And they're small TTRPGs that are built by queer creators, oftentimes transgender creators. We ought to see that pretty soon. So let me see what is let me check a couple of these comments. Matt says when he DMs a TTRPG, there's one form of cheat software that always works, and it's cookies. Isn't that true? Oh, wait. Oh, so Anita says, dang, I need to get rid of my anti-cookie plugin. Then Matt says, yeah, best to avoid that one. All right, let me see. Here is another thing, by the way. Matt says he has a rule at all of his tables. It's called the rule of cool. And I think that's part of, like, there's another greater, like, session 0 set of guidelines. And I'm not going to go nuts talking about that. But the rule of cool is basically if an action would be cool if it succeeded, or failed, then it automatically succeeds or fails. It applies to all of them. So if it's cool, Matt says he's had people argue that it's a bad rule, but never anyone who's experienced it. Yeah, it's a big, huge thing. It's kind of like, look, what you're trying to do is have fun in a game. I mean, if you want to play crunchy things, you can go play Pathfinder, right? And you'd be like, oh, I got a natural one. And the person goes, oh, dang, you're dead. And you go, no, wait, hang on. Can I just be like down to 1 hit point, or can I be something? And the GM goes, nope, sorry. Well, it would be cool if I survive this. The GM can go, sucks to be you. We're all level 20. We'll see you in the next game when we finish up 3 months from now. Bye. This is why I think the rule of cool is useful. Just saying. Anita said above, she doesn't feel very good getting into a group. They don't feel. I apologize, Anita. You have the same name as my mother, so it's tough for me sometimes to do that. And I know that's not your name, but anyway, so Anita says maybe they didn't feel completely safe among a group of people, or I'm not going to put words in their mouth, but maybe this is how you feel, that you don't feel safe. What if you just kind of don't want to play with other people? Maybe your confidence isn't there. Maybe you don't like other people. Maybe you want to try something else out that's really kind of embarrassing for you. Then you can use something. I don't have physical books for this, but you can use something called the Mythic system. This is made by Word Mill Games. I have used Mythic. I bought it when I was maybe just before I went to Thailand. I can't remember. But we used it when we were in Thailand. It was only once that we used it. So it was only once I used it at a table, but it was actually really good. Like, you don't have to have a setting, a story, whatever. You make it up on the fly, roll some dice and go, well, here we go. This is a thing that's going to happen. It acts as like it's a game master. So you can just be a character in your own game. So even if you don't want to try with other people first, you can always play alone. You still get to tell a story, your own story. All right, we went through the why and the what. Now let's talk about how. How do you get into a game? How do you find people willing to play with you? I thought I was going to be finished by now. Dang. Well, this is fascinating. Give Me the Brain was available both in English and Czech. I don't know. The rule of cool was invoked twice in one campaign. The first time it resulted in a Tarrasque, I forget what those are, being shrunk down to the size of a house cat and being adopted as Terry by the group as a pet. Oh, that's pretty good. I like that. Oh, the second time was when the BBEG cast anti-magic shell on the party, including Terry. Shit. All right. I mean, here may be another reason if you want to use Mythic. Bo says she's not typically a big fan of other people's idiosyncrasies. That's a good point. Okay. Let me talk a little bit. This is going to be, maybe it's a little bit of self-promotion. All right, just run with me. You can play tabletop role-playing games with Purple Paw people. Purple Paw people? That's a lot of fun to say, isn't it? I originally started the Discord server, and part of, just trying to make a bunch of community, because I had hoped to get into doing this, to hosting some games. So let's say you're totally ready. You're like, I'm going to go play a game. How do you find people who want to play a game specifically with you? Because that's kind of a thing. I would offer our own community, so the Purple Paw Clan, and you can see that website down there still, again, as a place to start. Now, I'm not going to kid you. We've got rules about conduct in the Discord server. We are primarily gender diverse and queer in other ways, so if that's going to turn you off our communities, wrong for you. Victoria, Fox formerly Victoria, where do you sign up? Give me a sec. So anyway, if you're gonna be turned off by like the kind of person I am, this community's wrong for you. And I guess now that I think about it, like, you probably wouldn't have gotten this far into a live stream if you had a problem with that. Maybe I'm wrong. Who knows? So we have a Discord server you can join. Like I said, if you go to that website, there is a page there for the Discord server, and you can join. I have been, well, there you go, and Margie popped it up. I have been trying to get a game set up for a long time, and I've realized I don't have the time to do everything, and I don't have to do everything because I have a tool available for you out there to take the reins. I have a virtual tabletop on the Purple Paw web server. Some years back, I bought a license to Foundry VTT, it's called. So, Foundry Virtual Tabletop VTT. This is a piece of software I mentioned before. You can add maps to it, other assets. It can run the dice rolls with particular systems you can install. It takes all kinds of plugins if you want to customize the way the thing looks. I suppose you could write your own if you had something you'd wanted to do. Is it the best VTT out there? Maybe, maybe not. I did appreciate that one specifically because this runs only on my server. And that means the interactions do not go anywhere other than my server. There's another tool that I just set up as well that is peer-to-peer communication. So even if you didn't want to go through Discord, you could still do that. So how do you get started? How do you sign up? If you're into it, you can join our Discord server. You can just reach out to me. Again, there's a contact page if you want to reach out to me. And we'll figure out how to make a game world of your own. It doesn't have to be only one. We can have a bunch of worlds. You can probably find people willing to play with you on the Discord server, but if you have other friends, hey, bring them along, okay? If you're not ready for friends just yet, guess what? The Mythic solo game system that I mentioned before is available for Foundry. That's the other place where I used it. Just told my own story to myself. Seems pretty solid. So if you wanted, you could even make your own world. For what it's worth, there is one limitation with Foundry. Only one group can play at a time. So we would have to make a schedule, but for what it's worth, if this is something people really love, I would even consider buying more license to Foundry if we had schedule conflicts. Because honestly, I love role-playing games, TTRPGs, and I also really like Foundry. They've been really nice to me. And it's cheap. It's like super cheap. So anyway, we would have to schedule conflicts. Now, let's say you want to find people in the real world. I know it sounds scary, but what if you did? You can go down to your local game store, and unless you're in a very small town, literally, if you put game store into like a search engine, you are likely to find a game store in your town. And unless you're in a very small town, you're probably going to find people who want to play TTRPGs. Are you always going to find people who will be nice to you as you play? I don't know. Think about the internet out there. Think about people. Maybe, maybe not. So there is another virtual tabletop system. I'm going to throw this out here. It's called Roll20. They have a feature that's called, I think it's called Find a Game, Looking for Group. I don't remember what they call it, but you can make an account on Roll20, and that is it, ROLL20.com. Roll20. You can make an account and you can just go, look, I'm looking for a game. You can do that. What if you're not quite ready actually to tell your own story? Well, there are groups called actual play groups. These are people who stream themselves playing tabletop role-playing games. I know this may sound boring. You may be going, come on, really? Who's doing this? There are some highly successful and hilarious groups out there. I'll bring up Critical Role. There's a whole online channel about this. For the life of me, I can't think of what it's called. But there's a whole channel about this. And as I had mentioned, with the Alliance for Gender Diversity, that particular nonprofit, we intend to set up a stream, set up a game so that we can stream us playing. And of course, the nonprofit is about gender diversity, so you can bet we're going to be trying to find games that force us to explore those little fidgety bits in both gender and identity. So, hoped it was going to be a little faster than this, but here's my summary. Playing a character different from yourself, or maybe exactly like yourself, teaches you so many things. It can teach you, assuming you're playing with other people with maybe a gumshoe type or forged in the dark type system, it teaches you how to work with other people on a common goal, which is pretty important. It can stretch your imagination, and it allows you to see the world and often yourself in a different light. It lets you try on aspects of who you choose to be, who you know you are, that you might have been afraid to try out in the real world. Um, it might help you find friends, support, love, and I will virtually guarantee it's going to help you find yourself. So there you go. Go out and get a TTRPG today. That was all I had to talk about today. Um, Let me see. Oh my gosh. So Matt says, so that the Tarask was a lich, literally the ultimate villain of the campaign. The players never even rolled initiative to win that fight. Oh boy. Because you just turned it into a house cat. I like that. Oh my gosh. Let me see. I got 2:52 on my clock here. I swear we're going to play a game. I'm going to talk a little bit more about this when I come back, but for now, what I'm going to do is take a 5-minute break, and we will come back and play something, and it'll be a lot of fun. I promise. So, 5 minutes, I will be back.